Okay, so you're at the point where you've got a question in front of you. You've done a little bit of analysis, you've tried narrowing it down, and you have a stated question. So now one of the ways that you can just triple check that this is really the right question for you, that this is something you want to put forward on your proposal, is to use the 6 thinking hats. Now, some of you might be familiar with this tool from classes like in TOK, but it's totally okay if you're not, because I'm about to run through it. Now, this is not an activity that you're going to be doing today in class. You'll be able to see from the time that you've probably already run out of time. But I really recommend that you take this tool and use it when you're ready with your own questions before putting them up for proposal. So let's go through the 6 thinking hats and how you might use them with your EE question. Let's make it small. All right, so you have 6 thinking hats in front of you, and I like to think of them in pairs. You don't have to. It's just the way my brain works. But I like to think of them like this and approach them in this order because it feels logical to me. But if you don't, you can take them in parts or just some of them or in any order or way you choose. But they're just a really good way to kind of evaluate and make a decision. So let's start with the top 2. We have positives and negatives, and this is really straightforward, and you'll have used this kind of method of thinking in lots of your decision making in life. It's a pros and cons list. So what are the good things about choosing to do this question that you've put forward, and what are the bad things? So some of the good things might be that you're interested in it, that you've got research already, that you've started, that you know someone who knows a lot about this topic, that it's something that you feel you could be motivated by. What are the bad things or the downsides of doing this question? It might require you to do a type of research that you don't love doing. It might be a subject that even though you're interested in the topic, you've struggled a bit with the subject, and that's okay, but that might be a downside, okay? It might be that, you feel like it's a really good fit for where you want to go in the future, but you don't really feel convinced that you're interested in the topic. That could be a downside. So positives and negatives. The second layer of thinking is about creativity versus data. So taking a step back and saying, firstly, under the creativity hat, are there any other perspectives or ideas around this topic that you haven't considered? So you've posed a question, particularly early on. Your questions might sound, in some ways, not dull, but a lot like questions that have happened before or questions you've heard other people raise in the past, and that's totally fine. But maybe take a pause and see, is there something beyond that? Is there another version of this? Is there another perspective? Could you look at it from somewhere else, about something else? So just really open the thinking box back up on that question, and where we narrowed it before, take a minute just to re-expand it out and see if you missed anything. On the data side of things, we're looking at what you found in your previous analysis. So does the initial investigation that you've conducted make this seem like a successful question? Did your initial analysis prompts all have answers? Were you able to narrow it succinctly to a nice clear topic and a nice clear context? Have you spoken to a teacher about it? Did the teacher think it was a good idea? All of these things provide you with data to help you make a decision. Okay, so in those previous data collecting phases, does this look like a successful question? And lastly, we've got emotion and process. And in some ways, these are the most important parts of the 6 thinking hats. When you get to the emotion stage, you need to be really honest with yourself. You need to ask yourself, do you like this question? And more importantly, do you want to spend the next 8 months researching and writing about this topic? But also on the flip side, will you regret not choosing something else? So take a minute and think, is there a niggling topic at the back of your mind that you think is risky, but you're really interested in it? Will you regret not taking the risk? Maybe, okay? Be honest with yourself and factor that into your decision. And on the process side, know what you're going to do if you're still not sure, okay? If you've done the triangle, if you've done your analysis prompts, if you've gone through the thinking hats and you're like, I'm not sure, that's fine. Do some more research. So speak to a teacher, do a little bit more reading on the subject, go back to the first step and do, your basic brainstorming or your analysis prompts and redo the process, okay? So that you can review it and come to a decision that you're happy with. Now, before I leave you, I just want to emphasize for the last time that these questions do not have to be perfect. The goal of all this prep for your questions is so that you understand the perspective and the thinking that goes into generating a question. It is not that you generate perfect research questions, okay? You'll have supervisors to help you refine those. But this is just to help get you into the thinking to create good research questions, so you've got a really solid place to start from. So that's it from me. Good luck with your thinking and your proposals. If you have questions about them, make sure you talk to someone, and I will see you once all your proposals are in. Well done.